So arrhythmia is it's hard to define specifically because the rhythm of the heart it changes all the time. So, for example, we were in a group discussion, a session where we were talking about having HRV, heart rate variability. And so when the heart rate is variable, that's a good thing. In other words, we think that our heart, if you listen to your heart or you feel your pulse or take your pulse or something, it's gonna be very regular until you do an EKG.
I'm not sure that going live on Facebook is going to work. I don't know why it does this to me, but
we are live on Zoom, right?
Yes.
oh, it says we're live on Facebook too. See? Tricky. So tricky.
I almost matched today.
Oh, look at us. Guys, fun fact. Did you know Cheryl and I share a birthday?
We do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, October 20th.
Woo-hoo.
Kind of fun. Yeah, and I think when I started, were we the only girls on the team? There might have been one more. Maybe Courtney at that point. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago, 2012 actually, is when I started with the Barton team. Cheryl, when did you start?
2009.
Wow. Cheryl's one of the OGs of the Barton team. She's been around the longest. She's probably seen more changes than we can imagine in, and I don't really mean team. The funny thing is we've pretty much held on to
Sure.
most of our team has been pretty consistent, but technology itself changing in that time. I mean, the things that we started out, we all were together this week in Florida, you guys, and we were talking about how we really started out with just information.
Yeah.
We had information, that's what we sold. And now we're doing supplements and we have webinars, and now AI has come around, and who knows what's going to happen now. It might not even be me talking to you. You don't know. Might just be AI.
That's true. We did that. We put an avatar up on the television and just gave it something to say, and it was amazing to watch myself say something that I've never said.
Also very scary.
It was Dr. Saunders AI, and it looked like him talking. The sound was off a little.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fluctuation wasn't there, but other than that, you would have thought it was Dr. Saunders.
So this is really funny. I was actually on another call. A few people from the team hopped on a call, an AI call, where we were talking about some different things that we might be able to implement. And one of the guys that was presenting to us didn't tell us this until the end, but he had some type of thing that made it look like he was looking at us when he was talking, but his head was actually down and he was taking notes. And so it was kind of creepy, you guys. So I'm like, wow, think of all the things that we're going to be able to do with AI, but we're only going to use it for good. I'm just letting you know that. We will use it to bring you a better experience. We're not going to do anything crazy, but if we can personalize things more to what you want, and just really use technology to help you more. That's really what our goal is. So we're not going to do anything crazy. We're not going to lie to you about things. So, I mean, I don't think so. That's scary. No, our morals and values are pretty strong in this team, so nothing crazy is going to happen. But back to the topic today, guys. Before we get started, I'm just going to let you know that Dr. Saunders is not your doctor, so please consult with your healthcare professional before you implement any of the things that we're talking about today. The information is for general purposes. We're going to talk about keeping our heart healthy. This is the Healthy Heart webinar. For those of you who are not even sure how you got here, we are focused on our healthy hearts. Wednesdays, we do a webinar where we talk about type 2 diabetes, and they're both phenomenal. Dr. Saunders does a little bit of teaching, and then we open it up for questions. So if you're on the Zoom webinar, you can post those questions in the Q&A. We'll do our best to answer those. Facebook, YouTube, hello. You can push your questions there. And again, we're going to do our best to get to what we can. And you will see, those of you on YouTube, a little link that you can click. It'll take you to bartonwebinar.com, where you'll find out more information about us, what these webinars are, etc. So we're going to go ahead and get started who is all on here today? Let's see. Connie is here. Hello. See, we get all, I feel like I know you guys. I wish it could pop up like your pictures were there so I could see. Because I have these preconceived ideas of what you look like, but I really have no idea. Some of you I have talked to virtually like this, so I do know what you look like. But oh, Butch, for example, Butch, I have done a video chat with you. I know exactly what you look like. You are awesome and so funny. So Terry from Texas, Butch is from Missouri. Hello and welcome, you guys. Margaret is here. Your first webinar? Yay, welcome. Okay, I'm so excited that you're here. We, again, are going to be talking about mostly, you'll hear us talk about the Healthy Heart Solution Kit. And this is really what the team and Dr. Saunders have put together to reverse heart. Well, can I say that? Can we say we can reverse heart disease? I mean, what can we actually say? I don't know what we can say anymore. This is how to get your heart healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. Yes. So you'll hear us referencing this. You guys, you can find this at Barton, and I say you guys, I have to work on that, everyone. You can find this at bartonwebinar.com. But we're going to be talking specifically about arrhythmias today. And I'm excited because I don't know a lot about this topic. And so Dr. Saunders is going to give us all the information that's inside of his brain, which is a lot. He doesn't look like he has that big of a head, but he has a lot of information there. He does a lot of research. And so I'm excited to chat about this. John is here from South Carolina. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Saunders, what is arrhythmia? Also, guys, try to spell that, by the way. I got it down now. But if you want to type that out and practice spelling it, it's not, it doesn't come easily. So I got it now. I mastered it.
So arrhythmia is it's hard to define specifically because the rhythm of the heart it changes all the time. So, for example, we were in a group discussion, a session where we were talking about having HRV, heart rate variability. And so when the heart rate is variable, that's a good thing. In other words, we think that our heart, if you listen to your heart or you feel your pulse or take your pulse or something, it's gonna be very regular until you do an EKG and you say, well, it's not exactly regular, that there's variability in between by, several milliseconds, for example, 100 milliseconds. You could have these variations in your heart. And so no two beats are exactly alike. They're all just a little bit different. And that's the nature of biology. So what is an arrhythmia? At what point do you say that variability, that difference between the two beats is too much? And that's what we call arrhythmia, and the too much irregularity. So if you are measuring your heartbeat and you hear, and it's going like pretty regularly, it's kind of predictable, and then all of a sudden there's a little pause and then it starts up again. Or sometimes it'll go regularly and then it'll go like 3 fast ones in a row and then it'll start regular again. Those are arrhythmias. And a very common one that we're seeing much more frequently now is called atrial fibrillation. So a heartbeat is pretty regular. It's pretty much on, 60 times a second, 60 times a minute kind of thing, 1 time a second. And then what happens when the node isn't causing the heartbeat anymore? The node is the part that initiates the heartbeat. And when it's not causing the heartbeat anymore, then the atrium, the different cells will go off at different times. And so instead of going in a coordinated beat, it's going at all different times. So it's going all the different cells are firing in different places at different times. So the atrium literally is fibrillating. It's just going like all over the place. And what that causes is, instead of pushing the blood out and beating to push the blood out, the blood kind of just hangs around in there because it's not completely closing down and pushing all the blood out. So the blood hanging around in there can cause little clots to form. And when clots form, then they eventually go out and they go through the circulation and they end up somewhere. And if they end up in your liver, you're not going to notice. If they end up in your toe, you're not going to notice. If they end up, somewhere in your body and your muscles or something, you're not going to notice. Why? Because you have collateral circulation, and a little bit of blockage for a while isn't going to do anything, and it's going to dissolve, and then the blood flow is going to go back, and then everything's going to be okay. But 20% of your blood goes to your brain, and so you have a 20% chance of that clot coming out of your heart and going up into your brain, and the brain cannot tolerate a loss of blood flow for any length of time at all. So we call that a stroke. So people with atrial fibrillation that form clots, and then that goes up, and it can go to the brain and cause strokes. So a lot of people are put on blood thinners because of that. Now, there's nothing wrong with the blood thinners per se, but they do not deal with the problem. The problem is that atrium is fibrillating. It doesn't have any coordinated beats. So the idea is to get coordinated beats. So then we ask, why do these arrhythmias happen? Why is this happening at all? So let me tell you what it is. It's energy. When the heart lacks energy, then it doesn't coordinate very well. So if you have, let's look at the heart muscle, just one muscle cell, and that one muscle cell is like a mousetrap. And you take a mousetrap and you have to put energy into it to set the mousetrap. And then all it requires is just a little tap and bam, it goes, right? That's what your muscle cells are doing. It requires energy to set it. That's the relaxation. And then all it takes is a little impulse, a little electrical impulse to come by, and bam, it contracts. So what happens if it takes longer to reset one than another? And if it's taking longer because you don't have enough energy to reset it, so it's just taking a little bit longer, milliseconds longer, remember there's differences of milliseconds longer, then the other muscle cells around it go boom, they contract, but this one doesn't contract until it resets it, and then it goes boom. So then they're going at different times because of the energy problem. There's not enough energy to reset it quickly. So they're not resetting quickly, they're resetting slowly, and that's energy. So why does that happen? A normal heart cell has, if you take the heart cell, 40% of that cell is just packed with mitochondria. Mitochondria are the little bacteria that make the energy for the cell. So these mitochondria in your heart cell is 40%. They're pumping out ATP like crazy, and that's the energy of the cell. And so they're resetting, and they're going, how much rest does your heart get? Does your heart ever get to take a nap and go, you know what, I'm tired, I think I'll just take a nap? No, never. As long as you're alive, that heart has to keep going and going and going. It never gets to rest. Well, if you ran a marathon, you would use up all the energy in your muscles, and you would probably be in bed for, I don't know, days, unless you really exercise a lot. My daughter ran a marathon, and the next day we were walking all over the place. She was fine. But you can use up all the energy in your skeletal muscles, and they get cramps in them, and they get lactic acid in them, and you have to rest. Okay, I got to rest. I got to take a nap. I'm done here. The heart can't do that. So what it does is it just tries to keep going, but it just resets more slowly, because now you only have 30% mitochondria. So you're resetting more slowly. So they're going to go off at different times. That's the problem. That's where arrhythmias come from. So when we see in the medical field, when we see somebody that has an occasional skipped beat, probably not an issue. But if we were to think about it, we'd go, oh, you know what? That doesn't cause an issue. But if that progresses, what's it going to become? It's going to become more frequent skip beats. And then it's going to become a full-on arrhythmia where it's not beating regularly at all anymore. It'll go boom, 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 boom. And it'll be, just the rhythm will be all over the place. And there are problems with that. Yeah, the clots forming is one. Another one is the heart doesn't have time to reset completely, so it doesn't fill up completely. So it goes boom and boom, 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 and only a little bit of blood comes out, so that you get poor circulation. You're not getting the blood to your body properly because the heart isn't filling up completely and emptying completely. So arrhythmias are important. This is an energy problem. So we've talked a lot about the energy systems of the heart and how to increase the energy. And that's what needs to happen. And when it first starts, when you get that first little arrhythmia, those occasional skipped beats, or the ectopic beats, then you start saying, aha, that's a precursor to a problem. It's not a problem, but it's a precursor to a problem. And I need more energy in my heart. So putting more energy in the heart. Number one, exercise. If you don't exercise, you don't increase at all. If you don't exercise your muscles, you're not going to grow muscles. If you don't exercise your brain, your brain's not going to work. You don't increase anything in biology unless you stress it, exercise it. So if as we age, as human beings generally, as we age, we tend to decrease our activity levels. I just had a patient in today. When he was younger, he was a carpenter. He was out working. He worked, pounding nails and doing stuff and lifting things and moving things, and very physical activity. Now he's 55 years old and he has a desk job, and he sits at a desk and makes what are they called, estimates. So he's doing desk work all the time. He's sitting all the time. Now he has to go to a gym to work out. It's not his job anymore. He has to actually plan on working out, on exercising. So that's a really important thing, is exercise. The next important thing is nutrients. There are certain nutrients that tend to decrease with age. And one of them is coenzyme Q10. CoQ10 is not it's not a nutrient, it's not a vitamin. We make it in our bodies. We actually make it out of cholesterol. So if you drop the cholesterol levels, then the CoQ10 drops too. And that's a problem, because then there's not enough energy, or you don't have enough CoQ10 to make new mitochondria to increase the amount that you have. L-carnitine also, and magnesium and D-ribose. These are things that tend to be the bottleneck for making energy. So it's not that people are always deficient, they tend to be a bottleneck, and you don't want any bottlenecks when you want to be able to make more energy for your heart. So we supplement those. And so we made a healthy heart supplement that includes those, and also some other things to decrease stress, for example, and to increase nitric oxide to dilate the blood vessels better, so that the blood pressure can go down. So we put other things in there, but it has these nutrients in it, so that there's no bottleneck, so that you can make more mitochondria for your heart. If you don't exercise, though, it's not going to work. You can't sit on the couch and take a supplement and expect to increase your heart.
I'm just going to quick show you this, since you show everybody this. Can you guys all see the screen that you're seeing? Yeah. Nutrition, is that right? Okay, so a couple things that he talked about, the healthy heart support. You mentioned that. We'll click into that here in a minute too, but I want to show you our magnesium. I love our magnesium. I just use that. I use it at night. I keep it by my, or actually keep it in my nightstand, and I use that. But those are really good products that you can find at bartonnutrition.com. And if you use code webinar25, you'll save 25%. Now tell us again, why was Healthy Heart Support created? Is that just going to reverse all of our heart problems itself?
No, it's a support. And support means that when there's common deficiencies, you can test for them and see if you have a deficiency and need that. But if you're not testing for them, most doctors don't test for them. Then a good thing to do is to add in a supplement so that you make sure you have enough of each thing that you need, so that you can so that you don't have a bottleneck for making energy in your heart.
So you can see here some of the things that he talked about. So the ashwagandha, for example, that is to help kind of relax, right? A stress relief type of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's an adaptogen that prevents the excessive output of stress hormones from the adrenal glands, even when you're under stress. So it's been used for all kinds of things. In fact, there was a book written on Alzheimer's disease, and they recommended ashwagandha too for the same reason, to decrease stress.
Is there anyone who doesn't need that?
Yeah, there are people who are just not. The guy I saw this morning actually says he's completely non-stressed.
So you had mentioned exercise is number one. Number two, that's coenzyme Q10, L-carnitine, magnesium, D-ribose. Now, D-ribose was not in that.
No, because D-ribose needs to be taken in teaspoon quantities, and nobody wants to take 10 pills at a time. And it's sweet and it doesn't taste bad. So it really needs to come in a teaspoon. And it's pretty easy to find. It's a sugar, but it's a 5-carbon sugar that is necessary for making DNA and RNA, ribonucleic acid and deoxyribonucleic acid. That ribo is the ribose.
Okay, cool. I did have another question. Okay, so you said exercise, some of those supplements. Anything else that we should be doing?
Decreasing stress. And by decreasing stress, I don't mean don't have stress. Everybody has stress. You're going to have stress. But the way we've looked at it as, if you have stress during the day, what you want to do is relieve the stress at night. So getting rid of it, or repairing all the damage that was done during the day. All your repair happens at night. You build your mitochondria at night, so you make more energy. You fix your metabolism at night. Your brain actually cleans out at night. Everything good that you want to happens at night while you're sleeping. So if you're not sleeping, if you're stressed out and you've got a really high cortisol level at night. So people they watch the news right before they go to bed. And the news is all, of course, sensationalized. They take everything like, oh my gosh, the Russia and Ukraine are having a war and we're all going to die. And this politician did this and that politician did that. And people are they're getting angry, upset, and fear. They're scared of what might happen, or the global warming. We're all gonna. It's all doomsday, right? So they watch that right before they go to bed, and then they wonder why they can't sleep. So stress reduction. So turn off the lights at 9 o'clock. That allows your pineal gland to make melatonin. And then don't eat after 6 o'clock. Leave 4 hours before 10 o'clock so that your stomach is empty when you go to bed. That you won't get acid reflux, and you can make something called human growth hormone that will repair and fix everything, including your heart, including your arrhythmia, and all of that repair happens if you go to bed by 10 o'clock with an empty stomach.
It's interesting, guys. We were all together as a team, like I'd mentioned last week in Tampa.
And we did none of that.
Every time.
every time.
Hard. There might
They
have been a
probably
night
get
where I
them
went to bed
together.
early. But so our whole team wears these Whoop bands. I'm charging mine here. Dr. Saunders, you have yours on? Okay, so we have these Whoop bands and they're really cool. They measure a lot of different things. They monitor your sleep, your strain, your heart rate variability, all of these things. But anyway, so we had this like 2.5 hour session with kind of a Whoop band guru. And it was really interesting to hear him talk about some of this exact same things that Dr. Saunders has shared with us for years. And he's working with high training athletes, people who are looking to perform physically at their best, mentally at their best. And it's the exact same stuff that we talk about. There's such a huge benefit to going to bed on an empty stomach, to eating, to fueling your body well, all of those things that we talk about here. So if you're looking to be a really good athlete, just follow Dr. Saunders' advice, because it's the same. But I just was really surprised at how easy, it's not, I don't want to say easy, simple. I like that word. This stuff is very simple. It's not necessarily easy to do, but it doesn't take much. We can all work on going to bed a little earlier, probably, and eating a little less at night. Those aren't hard things. So anyway, I would just encourage you to do those things. We talk about that on our diabetes webinar all the time as well. So here's another question that I have. How do you know? Do you always know if you have an arrhythmia?
Most people don't know. But it's pretty easy if you just put your fingers over your radial pulse right there. You can feel your heart, and if it's predictable, and by predictable I mean it goes boom, 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 and then you can predict the next one's going to come right about here. And if it doesn't, then you go, that was missed, or there was an extra one put in there. Then it's pretty easy to tell. Some people are really sensitive, and when they have, some people have runs of ventricular tachycardia, where it's like 5 fast beats in a row, and they go, and they notice it, and they're really sensitive to it. But not everybody notices.
So could it go away on its own? Like, can you have it for a little bit and then not have it for a little bit, or?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, some people have atrial fibrillation, and then they don't for a long time, and then they do, and then they don't. Because if it starts up regular again and it's okay, all that's telling you is that the energy systems inside the cells themselves, the heart cells, are marginal. That some of them are not beating at exactly the right time, or they're not resetting at a fast enough pace, and so it goes in and then out and then in and then out, depending on the need. If you have a good day when you're having good energy, then it'll be better. If you're having a bad day and your energy systems are low and your metabolism is low, then it'll go back into atrial fibrillation. So yeah, it comes and goes.
One of the questions, I was just Googling this, and one of the questions that a lot of people ask is, can you still live a long life with arrhythmia, or should we be really concerned?
Well, yeah, people generally live a long life, even if they have like the occasional skipped beats, that kind of thing. It doesn't seem to decrease lifespan. But so should you be concerned? Well, just concerned enough to say, I should increase the energy systems in my heart. I should increase the energy of my heart by exercising, getting anabolic as much as possible. That's the stress thing, not having stress, and getting the right nutrients.
Okay. Someone had asked, how do we find the health band that you use? God, I'm sure we could have a link. I think Joe had a link. I should message him and I'll get his link. Maybe I should send you my link. I probably have a link. But it's called a Whoop band, WHOOP. I believe they were running a special at Whoop. I'll look on mine just to see. But the fun thing is, I'll just give you an example. My heart rate variability had gone down for the past couple days. I couldn't figure it out. I I don't know if I was coming down with something or what was going on. It finally went up a little bit today, but keeps track of, for example, I did Pilates today. Okay, I'll just show you this. I did Pilates this morning and it says my strain was a 9.5. Oh, yeah, Dr. Saunders has his up to yes. Okay, let me change the view. I gotta stop talking in order for that for them to see that. Hold on. Here we go.
So this is whoop.com.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's kind of funny because I also have a watch that has a lot of stuff on it.
You can see you can see the reflection in there, but it gives you a lot of good information, even about your workouts, your sleep. It breaks that down in between. Well, and we've talked about this too, your REM sleep and your light sleep and all of that kind of stuff. But it is just kind of fun. This was a really fun gift that Joe gave everyone on the team so that we can, take more control over our health. So, it says I can refer a friend.
Yeah, Esther just typed in, she does the Aura ring instead of the Whoop band.
Yes.
Because it's a lot easier for her to wear a ring than to have something around her wrist. Some people don't like things around the wrist.
Yeah.
So I have two. I have one on each side.
All right, I'm sending you, I posted mine in here, Joe, I hope that's okay. Gave everybody my referral link, but when you get to be the host of the webinar, this is just what happens. Sorry, Joe. So if you click on that, it'll give you some more information.
So the question, what is better, the watch or the Whoop? They do different things. The Whoop band doesn't measure your oxygen level. The watch does. The Whoop band does the HRV a little better. The watch isn't really good with HRV, which is heart rate variability. So they have different measurements, and I haven't seen one. I looked at a lot of different things before I got the Samsung watch. The Apple Watch is pretty good, and the Oura Ring is actually really good. The Oura Ring has the heart rate variability and the oxygen level. So I don't know. That's amazing how they get all that into one little ring.
I know it is. I'll post a link here, guys, if you're curious about it. They did an article on Patrick Mahomes. He used it for few years, I think. And it kind of showed some information about what they found. I also saw that he sleeps a lot, Dr. Saunders. He sleeps like 14 hours a day when he's in the middle of training season.
That's amazing.
And you can see how it changes his performance and his recovery. And I was like, that's it. I'm sleeping 14 hours a day from now on. I need it. So, okay, I'm not performing like he is, but it is really interesting to see. So, okay, what else? Oh, I'm gonna post this quick question for you guys. If you have any feedback you'd like to give us about topics that you would like to cover concerning a healthy heart, we would love to hear from you. So I'm gonna post this poll. Don't feel like you have to fill it out, but if you have some ideas, we'd love to hear from you. So if I remember how to post it, that's what I'm gonna, launch. There we go. Hopefully it came up. So feel free to let us know. Okay, good. And again, I'm just going to show you again, our Healthy Heart Solution Kit again is what we primarily talk about on this webinar. This is your, there's a section in a lot of these called the Quick Start Guide. I feel like this whole thing is the Quick Start Guide. There's really good information in here, but it's very simple and doable. And I think you guys, if you don't have this, I don't really know if there's anyone who shouldn't have this, if I'm honest. You can get the digital version of this for under $20. And Joe was on our webinar yesterday, Joe Barton. He's been on here, I think, a few times, but he said, in all these years, we've never raised the price of our solution kit. Isn't that crazy? I mean, this one is a new one, but we've always had them the same price, under $20. So really, really good price for a digital version. You can pay a little bit more to get a hard copy like this shipped to you. But guys, I'm just going to quick go over what's inside of it. So you're going to get an introduction. You're going to get an overview of what is heart disease and all of that kind of stuff that we talk about on these webinars. And then we talk about testing, we talk about treatments, and then we have it broken down into phases. So there's 3 phases. That's what we like to do with these. So you can jumpstart into phase 1. It tells you what to eat, what types of things to eat. It gives you recipes. It talks about exercise. A big portion of it is stress. So there's even a little quiz in there to figure out, how you're doing with your stress. Really good information. And if you go back and watch some of our past webinars, you can go to bartonwebinar.com. You'll find a link to our YouTube channel. But our friend Esther, who's a part of the team, she led us through some breath work on one of the webinars, which is great for stress relief. And you'll just find a lot of information in all of the webinars that we've done with some really beneficial things. So please go check those out. Please subscribe and tell a friend, because this is free. It's a free webinar. It's just crazy. And it's life-changing stuff. Many of you who are on this webinar have implemented the things that we talk about and have really, really just changed your life. And we're so proud of you. We love to hear your stories. So share with us. Perfect. Esther shared her link for her Aura Ring. What model Samsung watch? Did you post that already, Dr. Saunders, or did you answer that question?
Oh, no, I didn't answer that. The model, I got the 5. They have a 6 out now, and I looked at the 6, and there was really only, it wasn't significantly better, but the 5 had a better battery life. So I just chose it. I chose the 5, the Samsung Galaxy 5 watch, for the battery life, because it was better. The Pro, yeah, 5. Yeah, Samsung Galaxy 5 Pro
Okay.
has a better battery life.
Kind of says, what about an aneurysm on your main artery? Okay,
so if someone has an aneurysm on their main artery, so by the main artery, I'm assuming the aorta. That's the aorta is the main artery coming out of the heart that feeds all of the other arteries, and an aortic aneurysm is it's dangerous because it can get bigger and bigger and actually explode, and if an aneurysm pops in that artery, it's very unlikely that you'll survive, even if you're in a hospital when it happens. So it's not a minor problem if you have an aneurysm in the main artery. And depending on the location of that aneurysm, it could be due to a problem with your ability to make collagen. Collagen is the fibers that hold everything together. And if you don't have good collagen production, for whatever reason, there's some genetic things like what's called Marfan syndrome, where people have really stretchy skin. They can like pull their skin up and stretch it out, and they're double jointed. You know, they can take their thumb and touch their arm with their thumb going backwards. Anyway, one of the issues with that is because the connective tissue is stretchy, that the artery itself, the main artery that's taking all that extra pressure, is also stretchy, and it can get bigger and bigger and bigger, and kind of like a balloon gets too big, and the walls get thinner and thinner, and then it pops easily. So that could be an issue with those kinds of illnesses. So an aneurysm on the aorta is not a minor problem. That needs to be dealt with. And sometimes if it's lower down in the aorta, they can put like a stent in there. They they repair it with a Gore-Tex graft or something like
that. Someone had asked, what is a heart murmur?
Heart murmur. Okay, that's a different thing entirely. A heart murmur, just a sound the heart makes. So normally, if you listen to your heart with the stethoscope, and if you have a stethoscope and you put the stethoscope on the chest and you hear boom, 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 and what you're hearing is the closing of the valves. So they're open and they're closed, and when they close, you hear a sound that goes boom. But what if they don't close all the way and there's a little hole left and it goes? So the blood going out doesn't, the valve doesn't close all the way. It just has a little opening, and so you hear a whoosh, shh, shh. So you hear a boom, shh, boom, shh, boom, shh, and that's called a murmur. So a murmur just means it's a whooshing sound from blood going through something that's a small hole, and that small hole could be a lot of different things. It could be the valve not closing all the way. It could be the valve has a stricture, is constricted, so that trying to get all that blood through is going to create that sound because it's too small. It's not as big as it used to be. Or sometimes people have a hole in the heart from one side to the other. It's called a septal defect, and that hole, when it's big, you may not hear anything. It'll go. It's too quiet to hear. But if it shrinks down, that hole in the heart, then you'll hear a whoosh, shh, 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 and that whooshing sound is the murmur.
Interesting. Okay, Aubrey says, do you believe in the concept of simple versus complex carbs? And if so, are complex carbs a part of a healthy diet?
Oh, complex carbs are a wonderful part of a healthy diet. So complex just means they are connected together. So starch is connected together, and starch is fine. But in the book we talk a lot about fiber too, and fiber is a complex carbohydrate because it's a long chain and branch chain. They're chains of carbohydrates, and they're usually glucose, but there's all kinds of fructose and galactose and all the other sugars. And when they're linked together, they're complex carbohydrates, and they're a lot better. The simple sugars are the ones that are broken down into their individual glucose molecule, just the glucose molecule, or just the galactose, or just the fructose. So if you take a starch and you're eating, let's just say potato, and as you're eating the potato, you're chewing it, your saliva has an enzyme in it called amylase. And amylase takes the starch of the potato and cuts it up into individual sugar molecules. So then you end up eating sugar, a simple sugar anyway, as opposed to fiber. So I think you can't get too much fiber. So whatever you're eating, and I don't mean like eating cardboard, I mean like eating food. And so if you're eating whatever food you're eating, you can't get too much fiber, because that's the complex carbohydrate that allows the good bacteria to grow in your intestines. Whereas if you're eating starch, and they call it complex carbohydrates, and it is starch, if it's not processed starch, it's actually really good for you. But as soon as they process it, like they make white flour, they make white rice, they see what else they take. Well, cornstarch. If you eat like Cheerios, for example, is a processed cornstarch, modified food starch. So the processed starches, I don't think are very good for you at all.
Okay. Connie says, if a person starts taking your healthy heart supplement, will that help the AFib and possibly correct it?
That's the idea. That's exactly, it's supposed to help. So if your bottleneck is like L-carnitine, and L-carnitine is something that gets fat into the cells, into the mitochondria, so you can use fat for energy. And so L-carnitine is sometimes necessary to allow mitochondria to reproduce, and CoQ10 also. But don't think that the supplement is going to fix your problem. It's not a fix. It is something that is a support for the program. And the program is you have to be anabolic every day. You have to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. You have to get deep sleep so that you actually become anabolic. You have to make human growth hormone. And you do that by going to bed with an empty stomach by 10 o'clock at night. So you have to do that. And then you have to exercise during the day. And exercising during the day is, again, almost the more the better. You can do too much. And phase 2 exercise seems to be the best. And that is the point at which you're exercising, you're breathing hard, but you can still like talk between breaths. If you're pushing so hard that you can't even get a word in between breaths, then that's phase 3. That's stage 3. That's too high. So getting enough exercise is really important too. So as far as the supplement goes, yes, it's support.
Right. Julie said, can you take your healthy heart supplement with blood pressure and cholesterol lowering medicines safely?
Cholesterol lowering and blood pressure, yes. There are no medications that are going to interact with this. Think of this as food, and these are things that are essentially food, and they're not going to have any problems with any other medications.
Would you say that's true of all of our supplements? Do we have any supplements that we have anything in that maybe shouldn't be mixed with anything that you can think of? I feel like maybe it came up one time. Was it something with Nervala or?
So some people with vitamin K and synochroma don't want to take it because they're on blood thinners.
Oh, right. If somebody's on Coumadin, hardly anybody uses Coumadin anymore. Yeah, the
No.
Coumadin blood thinner. Other blood thinners, it's not going to make a difference. It's just Coumadin. It is a blood thinner that inhibits vitamin K, and so you don't want to be taking a vitamin K supplement.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. All right, what other questions do we have here? Can you get off the medicine eventually when taking the healthy heart supplement? So assuming blood pressure and cholesterol lowering meds.
Yeah, well, that's not the way to use the supplement. The supplement is not to replace anything. It is just to support your program. So, excuse me, getting off of medications is more related to is where you are in the program. At some point, you come to a point where your blood pressure is normal on its own, and you don't need blood pressure medications anymore. And your cholesterol is optimum the way it is, and you don't need cholesterol medications anymore. So the point at which you don't need them is when you get off medications, and the supplement doesn't take the place of any of
them. Yeah, she said, so yes, along with an eating regimen, like the Healthy Heart Solution kit.
Right.
Okay. Connie said, well, the doctors are telling me that the sleep apnea, which I have severely, is what is causing my AFib and restless leg problem.
Yes. Okay. So sleep apnea is a terribly stressful thing. You don't realize how much stress you have when you have sleep apnea, because you can't get deep sleep. Every time you go into deep sleep, you stop breathing. And so because you can't relax that much. As soon as you relax that much, the throat closes up and you just stop breathing entirely. So then in order to breathe, you wake up and you don't recognize that you wake up. Some people do it like 100 times an hour. They're 40 times an hour. They stop breathing, and then they wake up, and they never get deep sleep. And so they can be in bed for 10 hours and they say, yeah, I slept all night for 10 hours and I still woke up tired, because they couldn't get any deep sleep. So yeah, absolutely. That's really important. So fixing the sleep apnea is a key to atrial fibrillation, arrhythmia, and a lot of heart disease. High blood pressure is going to go up with sleep apnea. It's a big thing. It's not a small thing. It's really important.
What about restless leg? She says it causes the restless leg syndrome.
There's probably a relationship there that's not a direct causal relationship. I suspect the same thing that's causing the sleep apnea is also causing the restless leg. Restless leg and sleep apnea both can come from a lack of dopamine, and the decrease in dopamine. If it progresses on, it leads to like a Parkinson's or tremors and stuff like that. So increasing the dopamine levels would be a good idea, something to start with for both restless leg and sleep apnea.
Interesting. So just thinking through that, increasing dopamine. So often are people who maybe struggle with depression having restless legs syndrome also? That's a symptom?
Sometimes restless leg can cause sleep problems too. I just sent Cheryl today. I finished my article on sleep, and we talk about restless legs. How if you feel that your legs are uncomfortable, if you can't relax them, then you have this restless feeling where you have to move, and that's going to prevent you from getting sleep too. So it's not directly tied to the sleep apnea, but it's important, and that has to be dealt with probably on a separate basis, because fixing the sleep apnea isn't going to automatically make the restless legs get better.
Okay, and I think that was Julie's question. Increasing dopamine is a good treatment for both restless legs and sleep apnea. Is that correct?
Well, it may help the sleep apnea. You know, the number one thing for relieving sleep apnea is losing weight, even if you're not really overweight, and decreasing stress. And we talk about that a lot in the Healthy Heart book as well.
So how do you increase dopamine?
By improving your happiness, by finding your happy place. Meditation is a great way to do it. All the stress reduction things like exercising and having a good hobby and writing in a journal and writing your feelings down, all of those things are helpful. There are some supplements that increase dopamine. One I use infrequently, but it has occasionally worked for some people, is called mucuna pruriens. Velvet bean extract is a something that actually increases dopamine. It can be kind of helpful. There are some prescription drugs. In fact, there's now a lot of prescription drugs for increasing dopamine. The problem with just increasing dopamine while you still have stress and high levels of cortisol, for example, is that it contributes to Parkinson's syndrome problems.
Interesting. Someone had asked, I have narcolepsy. Is that the same as sleep apnea?
Some people with sleep apnea have narcolepsy, but narcolepsy is actually a separate thing. And that is people who will fall asleep during the day at random times without any warning. So the actual narcolepsy, some people say they have narcolepsy because they're sleepy in the day, but being sleepy is not what it is. It is you're sitting there minding your own business, working on something, and you just like fall asleep. And some people can have narcolepsy from a lack of sleep, but not usually.
Dr. Saunders almost says that. I think you've said you could sleep literally anywhere, right?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
I mean, you can just be sitting there and fall asleep easily.
Well, Thomas Edison had that too. Thomas Edison didn't sleep at night. He would take 10-minute naps periodically. He told somebody one time, the body is made for 10-minute naps. Somebody commented on him at a party. He was at a party. Everybody's kind of sitting around talking, and he was sitting in his chair and he fell asleep. 10 minutes later, he woke up and just continued the conversation as if nothing happened. And
that's good. I mean, if you're able to do that, that's great.
yeah.
Let's see. Trisha says, if my health watch says I get deep sleep, does that mean my sleep apnea is getting better?
It may mean your sleep apnea is getting better. So if you're having a significant 20 minutes at a time of deep sleep, and you may have that 2 or 3 times or even 4 times throughout the night, and it's usually early on, and you can go for that amount of time, 10, 20 minutes with deep sleep, then that means you're not stopping, you're not waking up as soon as you get into deep sleep. So that's a good sign that your sleep apnea is better.
Okay, Holly on Facebook says my cholesterol is 309. My doctor wants me to take meds, but I've read that is a normal level. Dr. Saunders, what are your thoughts? Triglycerides are 32, HDL 84, LDL 209.
Okay, so your your cholesterol, your total cholesterol to HDL ratio is not bad. It's actually pretty good, and that's a better predictor than total cholesterol. And you're absolutely right. Total cholesterol is not related to heart disease, um, and and your triglycerides are a really good level. Yeah. So your numbers don't have you at higher risk for heart disease. However, there is an increased risk of, well, relatively increased risk of death. you want your mortality table kind of goes up with the higher cholesterol above 260. So you, so you want to keep the cholesterol between 220 and 250, kind of in that range is the best. So while I would agree that your cholesterol is not bad, it's actually not optimal. And so the optimum place to be is a little lower. And the best way to get that down without messing up everything else is to eat a very high fiber diet. Fiber will take the extra bile acids out of your circulation so that they don't recirculate, and it tells your liver to make more. So your liver is using the LDL cholesterol to make more bile acids, and that drops your cholesterol level, and drops the LDL specifically. It's actually a really good. I've had that work really well. And then the other thing would be omega-3. If you add in omega-3, that helps that ratio as well. Keeps the HDL up and allows your LDL or total cholesterol to drop.
I think we may need to do a webinar on cholesterol again. That'd be good. Lots of good information. Okay, Connie had said, I gotta try to remember here. So she said, with that said, how much should I start out with the supplement to get started? They checked to see if it was my brain forgetting to tell me to breathe, but the score was 0. So
okay, so you don't have central sleep apnea, you have peripheral sleep apnea.
Okay.
Central sleep apnea is the brain. Peripheral sleep apnea is your throat closing off when you just everything relaxes too much and it closes up. And that's due to muscular and fat in the area. So the muscles are weak and there's fat. And so losing weight helps even if you're not obese. And the other thing that you can do then is go to a physical therapist who's good at this. So look around for a physical therapist who deals with sleep apnea, and they can tell you the exercises to do to get your muscles have better tone, so that when you fall asleep, you don't close off your airway.
Okay. All right. It's that time already. We're already up. Dr. Saunders needs to go be with his patient. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a Merry Christmas, Dr. Saunders. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. So someone had, first of all, Cheryl shared a couple articles in here, guys, that I want you to check out. I think I posted that one on, oh, there we go. Yeah. On restless leg syndrome. So check that one out. That's a Home Cures That Work article. And then she shared, let's see. Oh, there's more than one, Cheryl.
We had a whole issue dedicated to the subject of restless leg syndrome. Dr. Saunders wrote one article, and then we had some other health experts write on the topic as well.
Cool. All right. I posted those on Facebook here too. I'm going to end our poll here, guys. Actually, I'll give you 60 seconds. If you have any topics that you would like to learn about on these webinars, please post that in the poll. And I'm going to end that here in just a second. Be sure to check out bartonwebinar.com. Again, that is the hub. That's where I find all the information about these webinars, our recordings, our products, etc. Someone had asked if cold plunging would help. Specifically, I'm not sure what that was for, if that would help for.
Well, one of the things we learned on the Whoop app is if your ARV is really high for 10 consecutive days, then cold plunging is good. But if your body's under stress, cold plunging may not be the answer. It may not be what you think it is. It's so popular these days.
And I thought that was really good, something to really think about. When you're stressed, can your body really handle stress like that, So something to think about.
And we talked about sleep today, and Dr. Saunders is writing an article that will go live in January about sleep. So stay tuned. And then the next article is going to be about dental health and your heart for February. That one is going to be a hot topic, I think.
Awesome. I'm excited about that. Okay, I think the poll is done. I'm going to quick save this because I'm excited to see what you guys want to learn about. Ooh, lots of good stuff. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so you guys, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful Christmas. I hope you guys are able to feel the joy of the season and not feel stressed, right? You can implement some of the things that we talked about today. And we will be back here next week. Anything else, Cheryl?
Nope, just have a great Merry Christmas.
Yes. That's it. Bye, everyone. See you
Bye.
soon.